We're about to head out to the garden and we're gonna pick a bunch of delicious fresh veggies and show you how to make a few simple side dishes from the fresh veggies straight from your garden. Before we do that though, I wanna thank Blueland for sponsoring this video. They are celebrating something called Plastic Free July. If you shop my link below, you will get 15% off your first kit. This is a special offer just for you guys. Thank you, Blueland. One reason I like Blueland's tablets is because they are plastic free. And as you've noticed probably with most of your dishwasher tabs or your laundry tabs, they come wrapped in plastic. Blueland's do not. Also, they have no harmful ingredients in them like phosphates, triclosan, VOCs, and other harmful ingredients. Another really great thing is that they're really affordable. So the original kit is gonna cost you a little bit more, but then after that, you just buy refill packs. Obviously, I could love them all I want, but if they didn't actually work, it wouldn't matter. My favorite product of theirs is their dishwasher tablets. They get my dishes sparkling clean, even with hard stuck-on stain. Another product that is one of my top favorites is their toilet bowl cleaner. You just drop the tablet in, watch it fizz, and then clean your toilet like normal. It works wonderfully to lift stains right up out of your toilet. And don't forget to shop the link below this video for 15% off. Now let's head out to the garden. Me too. We have so many options of things that we could pick right now to make a meal, but we're limiting ourselves, I think, to just 3. Let's start with green beans. You want to help? Yeah. Okay, try to pick the bigger ones. So listen, let me show you what to do. You're going to lift it up, Mommy, and then you're going to find one. There you go, put it in your bowl. This is our first picking. I don't know if we're going to get 2. The bean beetles are taking over. We do like to pick these young. This is the variety called Tenderette. When you pick them young, they're long and straight and very tender, and they're perfect for making dilly beans and for sauteing. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to saute some green beans.
You finding any, Roy?
No. Here's a bunch right here.
Mama, let me help you.
Okay, help me.
Are you already eating them?
Yeah.
Are they yummy?
Yeah. I called it that.
Okay.
Let's grab a few onions to fry up some onions with our meat.
On my book.
Good job.
Hi, Mom.
They're not real big yet, and they were planted kind of late. So they may not get bigger than this, but we have plenty in here to feed our family.
All right, you can use the knife, but you have to be really careful. We're gonna get this one right here. Cut it right here.
Okay, baby.
Cut it right here.
Can Daddy have a turn?
Let me have a turn. Not now, buddy, I'm using it.
Can you get that one right there too? Tiny little heads of cabbage. They aren't even really firm.
Some boxes.
Giant cabbage.
Mom, let me in that.
It's our beautiful granddaddy kale plant that just keeps on giving, so we just keep on letting it live. It's gonna start getting really buggy soon, but right now it's still very much not buggy. And I like to just go ahead and de-stem it while I'm out here. Saves a messy step in the kitchen. I also put it right into the bowl that I'm gonna wash it in. So another easy little trick that makes less dishes and keeps things simplified. This is a curly kale. This is the kind we like to grow for kale salad. It's great for sauteing, and you can also make kale chips with it. It's really good for kale chips, but our favorite thing to do with this really curly kale is make kale salad. Because we don't have really... Oh, did you see this?
Crazy cherry tomatoes.
They will get a lot longer than that. The idea wasn't to come out here and harvest everything we could harvest because there's way more that we could harvest out here. We're just trying to grab a few things to make a nice lunch for our family. All right, we're ready to make this simple lunch straight from the garden. And we're gonna start with just washing our produce. We don't have to worry about there being chemicals or anything like that on it, but we do need to worry about bugs. And you know what? If you have a garden and you've eaten from that garden on any level consistently, you've eaten some bugs. So you know it's not that big of a deal. But it's nice to go ahead and just wash everything. So I am just loading my kale into my salad spinner. If you don't have a salad spinner, get you a salad spinner. It is life-changing when it comes to washing lettuces and greens. Very simple. You're just gonna fill your bowl with water, and then you're gonna agitate your kale in there a little bit. Then you're gonna go ahead and dump that out. And you're gonna do that a few times. This is where the magic happens. You're gonna now spin it. You think you got all the water out of there? You did not. So now watch how much water comes out. If I was sauteing this as like a green, I wouldn't worry about getting every single drop of water off of here because the water on there would kind of steam it and cook it really nice. But since I'm making a salad, I do want to get it mostly dry. So I'm gonna do it again. All right, remember I already de-stemmed this in the garden, so now we're gonna just break it into smaller pieces. You don't have to do that, but I just prefer my salads to be bite-sized pieces. It's more enjoyable to eat when it's like that to me. And I just use my hands. You could definitely chop it with a knife. But I'm just going in here and ripping it real fast. Some people don't like to eat raw kale because it messes with their digestion or makes their tummies upset. And others don't like to eat raw kale or leafy greens because of the oxalic acid in it, which can keep you from absorbing other nutrients. For most people, this isn't going to be that big of a deal. It's not like you're eating raw kale and raw greens all day, every day. It's just like a salad occasionally. It's totally fine. Cooking actually breaks the acid down and negates that effect. Something that I do will make your kale salad more palatable and more delicious and more tender is I massage the kale. That's one reason why I was enjoying breaking up the kale with my hands rather than chopping it. It's because it was already causing the breakdown of the fibers in the kale. You'll see that the kale actually, almost like in cooking, turns a little bit of a brighter green as opposed to like a dull green. Let me see if I can find an example. So like there's a little bit more of a dull green. There's a little bit more of a brighter green. Can you guys see that? Isn't that cool? And that's just from massaging it. This is actually kind of a fun process. Just like whenever you cook greens, when you massage them, they totally reduce in size. This bowl was overflowing and now it's significantly reduced just from massaging this kale. I remember the first time Arthur ever made kale salad for me. I kind of made fun of him and told him, gross. This is, I think when I was pregnant with Grace. So over 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And then I ate some and I was sold. I've loved it ever since. There's so many different dressings that you can make on kale salad, and I have a lot of different ones I like to use, but we're gonna use a more summery one today. Let's make our dressing. This is very simple. Y'all are gonna want amounts. I don't know, I usually just eyeball it. And so we're gonna eyeball it today. You can eyeball it too. These ingredients go so well together, you basically can't mess this up. So we're gonna add some balsamic. You can also use apple cider vinegar, and this is the base for a lot of salad dressings that I make, especially this time of year. We're gonna use some olive oil. We're doing about 1/4 cup of each. We're gonna add some honey. I think honey needs to be to taste because you might like it sweeter or less sweet. I'm doing, looks like about 1/4 cup of that as well. And then I'm gonna take these lemons, which my daughters have been using to make lemon zest, but they haven't used the juice, and we're gonna make the rest of our dressing. Now, once again, I would maybe go with a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons. You might like it more lemony or less. And then a little bit of salt. Say about 1/2 teaspoon there. Just whisk that together. And then I'm gonna taste it, see if I like it. Oh yeah, that is perfect. I'll just pour that on my kale. And then I'm also gonna add some almonds. These are sliced almonds that I just had in my pantry that need to be used up. You could honestly leave this salad just like that and just add the dressing and be done. But since I had the almonds and I have the cranberries, we're gonna go ahead and add them because it really does make it extra delicious. I'm gonna do a couple of handfuls of cranberries. We're just gonna toss that together. I decided to also add some parmesan. This is so versatile though, you really don't have to add any of this if you want to save money and save these ingredients for something else. Obviously fresh parmesan would be so good. Or even like this shaved parmesan, yum. Now if you remember, I had a giant bowl full and now it's not even halfway full. So remember that if you're gonna make this for a big group, that you've gotta make more than you think you do. I personally think this salad is better on the second day than the first day. Everything's had time to kind of marinate and soften the kale, but we will be eating this for lunch. It'll still be delicious today, but it is better the second day. We're just gonna put a lid on this bowl. These are my favorite bowls. They have the silicone bottom so it doesn't slip on your counter. It has the lid to go with it. The lid that goes with it matches the color on the bottom. These are great bowls. We're gonna stick this in the fridge and get on to our next side dish. All right, now we are gonna make homemade coleslaw my favorite way. I just do a basic coleslaw with a classic coleslaw dressing. I do have other coleslaws I make, but this is my favorite coleslaw to make with green cabbage. Unfortunately, my cabbages were very small due to planting them super late in the season, but I am dying to have some coleslaw, so we're harvesting some today to eat. Typically, I would only need 1 large cabbage for this dish, but I think I'm using 4 small heads today. So just cut that stem off. We mostly peeled off the outside layers out in the garden to keep it all out in the compost. And then I am going to core my cabbage here. Now you can do this by hand and just slice it really skinny or whatever size you prefer, but I actually like my classic coleslaw to be tiny little pieces. And I don't like to do that by hand, so we're gonna use my food processor. Okay, so I just kind of cut them in chunks. These were shredded. Then I just pulse it. Ooh, that is gonna be some strong cabbage. Cabbage in the summer is not the same as cabbage in the spring and fall. You may wonder why I liked my coleslaw chopped so fine. And honestly, I think it's because it goes back to when I was a kid and my dad used to take me to this restaurant in a place in eastern North Carolina, Newton Grove, North Carolina. It was called Eddie's Barbecue. And this is how they made their coleslaw. And I hated coleslaw as a child, but I loved this coleslaw. So when I became an adult, I quickly taught myself how to make this because I hadn't really had it since then. This finely chopped coleslaw with the classic coleslaw dressing. It's a sweet, creamy vinegar dressing. Anyways, I'll show you that in just a second, but I just thought I would share that with you. My dad passed away when I was in my early 20s, and so every time I make this, I honestly tear up a little bit, even though it's just coleslaw. But it's because this is where he always took us out to eat when we went down there visiting my grandparents, and he grew up there. That place is still there. It has a different name now. But my whole life growing up, we would eat there because we would go down there about once a month. And I think that's partly why I love this coleslaw. I think most people associate certain foods with certain times in their life, certain comforts, or maybe you don't like a food because of something you associate it with. But one of the reasons I love this coleslaw and I love chopping it fine is because of my dad taking me to Eddie's Barbecue when I was little. I have 3 carrots. I don't like to put a ton of carrots in my coleslaw, just a little bit for color, to be honest, just to make it kind of pretty and give it a little bit of color. I just chop these into rough sizes. I never peel my carrots. I know a lot of people do, but I've never found the need to do it. You can, of course, cut those by hand if you prefer. This is the way I love it. Oh, that's almost too many carrots. I might have only needed 2. But since I already chopped them up, we're just gonna go for it. One thing I have learned over time is that I do like to go ahead and put a little bit of salt on the coleslaw, even though I will put some in the dressing too. But what I find is a lot of times, because the dressing sinks to the bottom after a little while, that the salt ends up on the bottom. And if you salt this now, you'll have salt on the whole thing. So I might just do about half a teaspoon. For now, I'll add more later. And you can add pepper if you would also like to add pepper. Another thing that will do is create some juices in the cabbage as well. Now, let's make a very simple creamy vinegar, very classic coleslaw dressing. All you're gonna need is apple cider vinegar, sugar, and the mayo of your choice. Sugar of your choice. You can use a different vinegar, like a white vinegar, but I prefer the flavor of the apple cider vinegar. And then of course a little bit more salt. You can use homemade mayo. Done that before. I personally don't really make homemade mayo, but I have a friend who always makes it when she comes over. So you're gonna do about a cup of mayo. We're gonna do a third a cup of sugar. You can use honey or maple syrup. I have used both of those before and it's totally fine, but I do find that I prefer sugar because it doesn't leave a residual flavor like maple syrup and honey do. But there are a lot of people that I make this for that I only use homemade mayo and I only use honey for because that's how they prefer to eat. And then I just add maybe half a cup of vinegar, half to 1 teaspoon of salt. Now the sugar and the salt are going to be totally up to your taste preferences. How sweet do you like it? How salty do you like it? You're going to have to adjust that. So you can start off with how I do it. And then once you add this, you can always be like, oh, that's not salty enough, and add a little more salt, or oh, that's not sweet enough, and add a little more sugar. It's not like if you don't do it all correctly right now, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. You can add it later. You can even add more mayo or more vinegar. All of these dishes that I'm sharing with you today are very forgiving, and you can put your own spin on them, and you can change them, and you can make them to taste. That's the lovely thing about most cooking. Not so much baking, but most cooking. Was this even cooking? This is arranging. We're not really cooking anything. So now just taste that. That's good. And then I just pour it over top. And mix it in. I don't scrape down the sides yet. I kind of like to wait and see if I need more dressing. I don't like a ton of dressing on my coleslaw, but you might. So you might even want to double this recipe. All right, that's it. We're gonna just stir it up a little bit more. Make sure we get the dressing nice and mixed in. Do a little taste test. So good. Now, if I was making this for like a get-together, like a potluck or something, I would make it at least that morning, if not the day before. Because once again, this is one of those things that gets better the next day. And we'll go ahead and just put that in the fridge while I work on my other dishes. Okay, I'm gonna prep these green beans real quick. Usually my kids would do this. And honestly, I don't even think you have to do it. I think they taste fine with the little stems still on them. But for the sake of this video, we just can go ahead and pull the stems off. These are stringless green beans, so they're not gonna have strings. You can hear Arthur singing to the babies. So we're gonna get this done real fast, but like I said, usually my kids would be helping me make this go much quicker. It would actually already be done. I could put together this meal from garden to plate in under an hour. 1, because I've made it so many times. 2, because I would have my kids chopping and cleaning and all that stuff. Maybe even in under 30 minutes, to be honest, with everyone helping. But since I'm doing it all by myself, it's gonna take me a little bit longer, and because I'm filming. But just know, these are very simple, very delicious, very quick side dishes. Okay, so I was gonna fry these onions up and just serve them separately, but I decided to add them to the beef I'm gonna cook. So something I wanted to show you is that I'm gonna pull off the limper, like these little limp greens, but then cut off kind of the parts that are going, you know, that are dying. And I'm gonna save these, and then tomorrow I'll chop them up real small. I guess I could do it right now. And we're just gonna chop these up real small and use them almost like a green onion. And then I can throw it in some potato salad I'm gonna make tomorrow from fresh potatoes that we harvested a couple of days ago. So let's go ahead and mince this up. We love green onions on so many different dishes in this house that I make, whether it be tacos or chicken tikka masala or chili or potato salad. I will show you guys onion rings another day. They're so easy to make and they will make your family so happy. Woo, these are strong onions. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna cut these long and then just right along where they already have their own partition. Not worrying too much about that because they're gonna get cooked down. I wish I hadn't cut this off. I had read that the number of rings correlates to the number of leaves. These are the leaves of an onion. So I wonder if that's true, but I already cut this one off and I don't know if this one went with this one or what. So we'll have to do that another day. And my eyes are not burning anymore, so the paper towel trick is working. Make sure we keep it close. I have my 17-inch cast iron here. Now I was gonna make hamburger patties and then put fried onion rings on top, but I'm running out of time. So we are gonna simplify this meal. No one will care. What they don't know can't hurt them. If they did know I was gonna make onion rings, they would be disappointed, but I didn't announce it. So I'm just gonna show you real quick how I just fry these onions up. I'm sure you guys all know how to cook beef, so I'm not gonna show you that, but I will show you these onions real quick. There's not much to it. When I'm using my 17-inch, I turn on 2 eyes. I'm using tallow to fry my onions. You could use a lot of other things. Anything that has a really high smoke point, like lard or avocado oil or like a highly processed olive oil. This is not the best time to use butter though, because it'll get all smoky. I am not caramelizing these, so I don't need to make sure they're all separate and they're at like a crazy high heat. I am just frying them up. We're keeping this simple. This isn't gourmet, but it's gonna taste gourmet. Good, fresh food. Sprinkle it with the tiniest bit of salt. It doesn't take much to bring out that good flavor. And you know, whenever you fry your onions, it's actually going to make them sweeter. You're not going to be as strongly flavored like a raw onion. It's a much milder flavor. And then of course, depending on the type of onion, will depend on how sweet it's going to get. This is a candy onion, so it is a sweet onion. I had planned to make this amazing green bean dish for y'all, but these are fresh from the garden green beans, and honestly, the best thing that you can do for those is just cook them in a little bit of butter with a little bit of salt on them. So that's what we're gonna do. I usually, if it's winter especially, I'll make a teriyaki sauce and maybe sprinkle some sesame seeds, do some garlic, honey, soy sauce, that kind of thing. But I like the flavor of my fresh green beans straight out of the garden. And if I do that to them, it's gonna take that flavor away. So really, the perfect thing to do with fresh green beans is either ferment them into dilly beans, boil them with some bacon or a ham hock, or just cook them in some butter with a little bit of salt. Fresh food doesn't need much to make it taste good. The other reason I wanted to cook this way is because my coleslaw and my kale salad had dressings on them. And I find that too many sides with dressings just kind of overwhelms my palate. Whereas if I make a couple of more complicated things and a couple of simple things, I just tend to like the food a lot more. All right, the butter is ready for the green beans. I'm just gonna coat the green beans in that butter. Sprinkle a little salt. And we're just gonna let those cook in that butter real gently. There you have it, fried onions. Yes, my kids will eat these. They absolutely love them like this. Also, some nice sauteed green beans. I think that was maybe 2 tablespoons of butter. It really soaks into the green beans. This is how I would personally eat this meal, just all the fresh garden sides. I mean, this is from garden to my plate in less than an hour. But the kids are gonna want some meat, so we'll cook that up for them. Thank you so much for joining me today in this video. This is one of my favorite videos I've ever made. I regularly walk out to my garden, grab food, come inside and cook it. And I think that that is a super valuable thing to show you guys so you can see what to do with your produce besides just preserving it. I don't do a whole lot of preserving, especially because I don't have a whole lot of extra in my garden. But I can show you how to use right now what you have. I can make all of these dishes probably 5 to 10 different ways with different dressings, different textures, different add-ins. There's ways to make them costing less money, more money, simpler, more complicated, fancier, more rustic. So I hope you enjoyed this today. I hope you found some inspiration, and I will put the recipes below this video. See you guys real soon.